Welcome to Mystic Musings with Toby Hewitt. I'm Toby Hewitt, and I'm your guide through time and space and all points in between. Mystic Musings will give you insight into who you are, why you are here, how to live an authentic life, and where you fit into the universe around you. Join me on this path of mystical exploration. Welcome to episode 46 of Mystic Musings with Toby Hewitt. This week, we will examine the work of the End-of-Life Doula as we continue our mystic journey. When a spirit is readying itself to reincarnate, oftentimes there is a woman on the earth plane called a doula who helps the expectant mother. A doula is defined as a person who is trained to provide advice, information, emotional support, and physical comfort to a mother before, during, and just after childbirth. Because the focus is on the physical birth of a child and not the reincarnation of the spirit of that child, there is usually little thought given to addressing the needs of the spirit who is preparing to enter another lifetime. The spirit, who is aware of their other incarnations, has created a life plan with their spirit guide, and perhaps with other spirits, for his or her existence on earth, and chosen the parents who would best support, albeit mostly unknowingly, the path the spirit has chosen. There is some trepidation for the spirit reincarnating. The spirit plane is actually home, and trips to the physical plane for life lessons is made with the awareness of the difficulties as well as blessings the spirit will face. In my book, in passing, two of the characters spend a good portion of the book in the spirit realm. And as they prepare to reincarnate, the fear of the unknown grows for one of them. For her, it is as though she is dying into the physical plane. She says, "Oh, my dearest love, I am a little afraid. I feel as though I am dying again, leaving here and going back and not knowing. Truly, we will be all right. We will be together. I love you, Henry, always and forever." Withdrawing from the physical or spiritual side is normal as the spirit prepares for the transition. In either direction, there are moments as the spirit hovers between the spirit and physical realms. Transitioning from spirit to the physical plane, I would think, is easier than the other way around, because it is the spirit that knows it is moving from one place to the other. From the spirit world to the physical, there is a bit of trepidation, as the character in the book experienced. But once the spirit is in the body, it is harder to remember that transitioning from the physical world back to the spirit world is like going home after a long trip with many stops along the way. Often, there is much more fear about leaving the physical plane than leaving the spiritual plane. Last week, Spirit gave me the topic of end-of-life doulas for this week. And I admit that while I understood the role of a spiritual doula could play in the transition back to the spirit plane, I did not understand that the end-of-life doula would need to have a deep understanding of the physical being that contains that spirit. In other words, this doula at the far end of the birth doula needs to create a comfortable space in which the physical body can release the spirit to return home. This requires a deep understanding of the death process and the needs of the body as it begins to stop functioning as the shell for the spirit. Aspects such as medications for pain and gatekeeping visitors is as much a part of the end-of-life process as it is in the birth process, and the end result is the same. The spirit transitions between the physical and spiritual planes. I think the most important aspect of a spiritual doula, as I guess would be a name for that role I am most interested in, is to communicate first and foremost with the spirit who is transitioning, and perhaps with their guides and loved ones on the other side, some or all of whom will constitute the welcome party when the spirit finally transitions out of the physical body, they have been inhabiting. In addition, the spiritual doula will, of course, also be giving comfort to the conscious mind of the person and reassurance that this is not death as in an ending, but rather a transitioning back to where they came from for this incarnation. While the definition of the end-of-life doula is pretty much the same as the birth doula, that is, to provide advice, information, emotional support, and physical comfort, rather than providing these to the mother, the doula is providing these to the person whose spirit is about to transition back to the spirit plane. Because of the overwhelming fear of death that is the norm in our culture, when a person reaches the time of transitioning, it is often filled with great trepidation and a deep sense of loss, not only for the person, but for their physical plane loved ones as well. One interesting thing that occurs is that the closer the moment comes for transitioning, oftentimes the guides and loved ones on the other side will make their presence known, and the person will acknowledge their presence, which, I hope, would give comfort to those physical loved ones attendant at that moment. For example, as my mother's time to leave this plane neared, she apparently had a conversation with my father, who had passed 10 years previously. As I stood in the bedroom, I silently asked my dad to further make his presence known by taking her hand. I watched as her hand moved as though someone had taken it. It was a very nice moment. As we progress on this plane, it is my hope that transitioning between the two planes will be better understood, and that the spiritual doula will become a usual attendant in the time leading up to and including the moment of death, as a birth doula attends the time of birth. From the perspective of an evidential psychic medium, I know there is no death and that there are no dead, just spirits coming and going to and from the earth plane. I have thought about the possible exercise for this week, and I'm a bit stumped because this episode does not easily lend itself to an exercise. If you are interested, I would suggest going to Amazon and typing in my name, Toby Hewitt, in the search bar, and then scrolling down to In Passing, which is the book I quote from above. Perhaps you would be interested in the story of a paranormal romance. Please join me next week for episode 47, when we examine the concept of trust as we continue our mystic journey.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Mystic Musings. Please join me every week to continue our exploration of all things mystical that can help you have a more practical and magical life. Please visit my website, tobiehewitt.com, for more information and to read my blog postings. And join me also at pathwaystomindfulness.org to learn how you can schedule a presentation. I'm available for mindfulness training, demonstrations of psychic abilities, and individual readings. I also have a number of books on mystical topics on Amazon.com. I look forward to hearing from you and answering your questions. Please contact me through tobiehewitt.com.